The rain never stopped on this planet. Jace pulled his soaked shirt tighter as he moved through the jungle. Everything around him smelled like wet dirt and moss. Strange sounds echoed in the distance: howls, screeches, and the soft thumping of things too big to be quiet. His ship had crashed 3 nights ago. Now he was alone, cut off from his squad, and being hunted. Not by machines or soldiers, but by something that felt alive. Something fast. Something strong, and it was following him. He'd seen it once. A blur of silver fur and glowing purple eyes in the trees. It hadn't attacked, not yet. But every time he tried to sleep, he heard it. Breathing. Watching. Jace knew the rules. Stay low, stay quiet, don't panic. But panic was creeping in. He slipped on wet ground, cursing under his breath as mud covered his arms. He looked up and froze. She was standing there, tall, curved, covered in thick, bluish silver fur. Her chest and hips were wrapped in what looked like soft animal fur, styled like clothing, but wild and raw. Her ears twitched. Her violet eyes glowed in the dark. And her claws hung loosely at her sides. Jace reached for his knife. She didn't move. For a full minute, they stared at each other. The only sound was the rain hitting the leaves. Then slowly, she took one step forward. Jace held his breath. His hand shook. Another step. He backed away. She didn't growl, didn't attack. Her eyes weren't angry, they were confused, curious. He turned to run but slipped again, landing hard on his back. Pain shot through his shoulder. When he looked up, she was gone. The jungle around him felt empty again. Too quiet. But something inside him whispered she didn't leave. She was close. He crawled into a hollow tree and stayed there till morning. The next day, he found food. Small glowing fruit hanging from low branches. He remembered the warning from command. If it glows, don't eat it. He ate it anyway. Hunger does that. Later, his stomach twisted. His skin burned. He vomited until he couldn't move. That night, the fever came. His body shook. The world spun. He couldn't see straight. Couldn't fight. He heard her again, soft footsteps in the mud. A breath. A whisper of fur. And then warm arms lifted him. Jace wanted to scream. Wanted to resist. But he passed out before he could. When he opened his eyes again, he was in a cave. Not a cold one, but warm. Soft animal skins covered the stone. Fire flickered gently from a pit in the corner. She was there. Not far, sitting near the fire. Watching him, Jace tried to sit up. Pain made him groan. She growled softly, low, protective. He froze. Then she stood, walked over, and knelt beside him. Her hand touched his forehead. It was warm, gentle, almost human. Her claws didn't scratch him. They were careful, delicate. He whispered, "Why are you helping me?" She didn't answer. But her eyes said something he didn't understand. When he tried to sit up again, she growled louder. "No," he muttered weakly. "I need to get out of here. I need to leave." He tried to crawl toward the cave's edge. Her hand grabbed his arm, not hard, but firm. He looked up, and this time, her face was closer. He saw emotion in her eyes. Not hunger, not anger, but fear. She leaned down, and for the first time, she spoke, not in his language, but something ancient, broken. And then, slowly with effort, she whispered 2 simple words in English. "Please. Stay." Jay stared at her. She could have killed him, but she didn't. She carried him, fed him, kept him alive. He didn't know why. But something inside her wanted him here, something deep, and now he wasn't sure if he could leave, not just because of the pain, but because of her. Jace didn't sleep that night. He lay on the furs, pretending to rest, but his mind raced. The alien girl sat by the fire, quiet and calm. Sometimes she looked at him. Sometimes she didn't, but she never left the cave. She was guarding him, He didn't know her name. Didn't even know her species. But the way she watched him, it wasn't like a hunter. It was something else. Like a protector. Or something more. When morning came, she brought him water in a large leaf. It tasted sweet, better than anything he'd found on this planet. He nodded, trying to thank her. "I'm Jace." She tilted her head. He tapped his chest. "Jace." Her ears moved. She stared for a second, then placed her hand softly against her own chest. "Vela," she said, in a soft, deep voice. Jace blinked. "Vela?" She nodded. That was her name. Vela. For a moment, everything felt strange. Like the war, the crash, the fear, it all faded. But only for a moment. Jace remembered why he came here. His mission, the signal beacon in the ship. If he didn't reach it, no one would come for him. And he couldn't stay here forever. He had to get back. He looked at the cave's mouth. Sunlight came through the vines. He stood up slowly. His body still hurt, but he could move now. Vela growled softly. Jace raised both hands. "Easy, I just need to go." Just for a bit. Her expression changed. Her ears lowered. Her claws gripped the ground. She stood in front of him, blocking the way. "I'll come back," he said. "I promise." She didn't understand his words, but she understood something, that he was going to leave. Her body shook slightly. Her eyes looked wild. And then she did something strange. She stepped closer. So close her fur touched his chest. Her voice was soft, low, almost painful. "Please, not go." Jace's heart twisted. He didn't know what to say. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't an enemy. She was alone. Just like him. But he had to leave. He gently stepped back. She didn't stop him this time. Just watched. He walked out of the cave. The jungle light hurt his eyes. But he kept walking. 1 step, 2 steps. Then he heard a sound behind him. A growl, a loud one. Not Vela. Something else. From the trees. Something moved, large, fast, covered in red scales. 4 legs, teeth like spears. Jace froze. The beast lunged. And then Vela was there. She hit the creature mid-air. Claws slashed. Teeth snapped. Fur and scales flew in every direction. Jace stumbled back, heart racing. Vela fought like a storm. Every movement was fast, brutal, graceful. The beast shrieked and ran, leaving behind blood and broken branches. Vela stood over it, chest rising, covered in cuts. She turned back to Jace. This time, she didn't growl. She looked sad. And tired. She had protected him. Again. JSC. He didn't run anymore. He walked back with her, into the cave. This time she didn't block him. She didn't have to. He sat down near the fire. Vela looked at him, then sat beside him close, almost touching. No words were spoken, but everything was understood. He still had to send the signal. He still had to leave. But not yet. Not today. He stayed. The fire crackled softly inside the cave. Jace sat with his knees pulled up, staring at the flames. His shoulder ached. His stomach was still weak. But it wasn't the pain that made his chest feel tight. It was her. Vela sat beside him, cleaning her wounds with sharp pieces of leaf soaked in water. She didn't make a sound. Not even when the blood touched the firelight and showed how deep the cuts were. Jace couldn't take it anymore. He moved closer, reaching out slowly. "Let me help." Vela blinked but didn't pull away. She watched as he gently took the leaf from her hand and cleaned one of the cuts on her arm. Her fur was soft, warmer than it looked, and beneath it, her skin was smooth like silk-covered muscle. She winced when he pressed too hard. "Sorry," he whispered. She didn't growl this time. Just looked at him. There was something in her eyes, a softness mixed with fear, like she wanted to trust him, but didn't know how. He finished cleaning her arm and sat back. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The rain had stopped outside. The jungle was quiet. Too quiet. Vela stood and walked to the cave's mouth. She looked out, sniffed the air, and her ears twitched. Danger? Jace asked, standing too. She didn't answer. But her body went still, tense. Suddenly she moved. Fast. She pushed Jace back and growled loud and sharp. Something hit the cave wall with a thud. Jace grabbed a sharp stick. He didn't have a real weapon, but he was ready to fight. A shadow moved at the entrance. Then came a voice. Deep, metallic, not human. Human soldier. Surrender. Jace's blood went cold that the enemy had found him. Not wild beasts, but alien hunters. War. Machines, stay down, he whispered to Vela. They're looking for me. She didn't move. Her fur stood up. Her claws were out. No, Jace said quickly. You don't have to fight. They'll kill you. But she didn't listen. Another voice echoed outside. Target locked. Move in, Jace stepped forward too. Stop her, but she pushed him back again. Then she leaped, straight into the jungle. Jace ran after her, heart pounding. He didn't care about pain anymore. He just couldn't let her die for him. He burst out of the cave and saw her fighting. One alien hunter stood over her, a long metal staff in hand. Another aimed a plasma spear. Vela dodged and slashed, but she was bleeding again. No! Jace shouted without thinking. He grabbed a broken tree branch and ran forward. He hit the nearest hunter hard. The branch snapped in two, but the alien stumbled. Vela looked up, surprised then something happened. She howled. A deep, powerful sound that shook the trees. And from the darkness, others answered. Jace looked around. Glowing eyes appeared. More werewolf-like creatures. Bigger, smaller, but all wild and fast. They attacked the hunters like a storm. In minutes. It was over. The machines were torn apart. Sparks flew. Metal cracked. The jungle went silent again. Jace stood there, shaking, out of breath. Vela limped over to him. She was hurt. Badly, but her eyes were bright. Alive. She fell into him, weak, bleeding, and for the first time, Jace held her. He didn't push her away. He held her close. I'm not going anywhere, he whispered, and this time, he meant it. Jace didn't sleep for the next 2 nights. He stayed beside Vela, watching her breathe, holding her hand as her body healed slowly. Her fur was soaked in dried blood. She had deep claw marks across her back and ribs. Every time she moved, she winced, but she never cried. The other creatures, the ones who came when she howled, didn't stay long. They had watched Jace with glowing eyes, growling low in their throats. But they didn't attack him. Not while Vela was there. They trusted her, and somehow that trust had passed to him. Now the cave was quiet again. The fire burned low, and soft night sounds came from the jungle. Jace carefully wiped Vela's wounds with warm water. She didn't stop him. Her eyes opened slowly, her breathing steadier now. You saved me, he whispered. Vela blinked. Her voice came out weak and rough. You, mine, Jace froze. What? You are mine, she said again, slower. He stared at her. She didn't say it like a threat. She said it like a truth. A quiet one. A soft one. She touched his chest, then hers. Jace didn't answer. He didn't know how, but he didn't pull away. The next morning, Vela could walk again, though she leaned on him for support. She led him deeper into the jungle, her steps quiet, careful. Where are we going? He asked. She didn't answer, just glanced back and motioned for him to follow. They walked past thick vines, glowing moss, and large trees with roots like cages. Jace had never gone this far before. Then he saw it, a hidden village, built into the side of a mountain. The homes were made of stone and fur, tucked into caves and hanging platforms. Alien figures moved silently, others like Vela, some smaller, some older, some scarred from battle. When they saw Jace, many growled or bared their teeth. He stepped back, but Vela stood in front of him and let out a short, firm growl of her own. The others paused, then slowly backed away. She grabbed Jace's hand, warm, firm. She led him up a stone path to a large den with furs hanging over the entrance. Inside, a tall, powerful female stood. Her fur was darker, her eyes golden. A scar ran down her neck. She looked at Vela, then at Jace. Vela spoke in her language, low and fast. Her hands moved. Her tail twitched out. The older female growled something back, then stepped forward. Jace felt a rush of fear. He was unarmed, wounded, tired, but she didn't strike. She sniffed the air around him, then stepped back. Vela looked at him. You. Stay, she said quietly. Jace nodded. Double quotes. Why did you bring me here? He asked. She paused, thinking. Because danger coming. Jace frowned. More hunters? She shook her head. No, not machines. Not war. Worse. He stepped closer. What do you mean? Vela pointed to the sky through a hole in the roof. The clouds were dark. The air had changed. Then she touched her chest. My people. We change when the blood moon comes. Jace didn't understand, but her next words made his skin go cold. If I don't bond, I become wild. He looked at her closely. Her voice was shaking, not from fear, but from something deeper. A choice. You mean you'll lose control? She nodded. Jace swallowed hard. He understood now. She had brought him here because she didn't trust herself. Unless he stayed. Unless he became something more than just a human lost in the jungle. He looked at her glowing eyes, her wounded body, her trembling hands. I'm not leaving you, he said softly. Not now. Vela exhaled slowly, her eyes shining with heat and emotion. Outside, thunder rumbled. The blood moon was coming, and something inside both of them was starting to awaken. The sky turned red as night fell. Jace stood outside the den, staring up at the blood moon. It was huge, hanging low over the jungle, casting everything in a strange glow. The air felt heavy, like something unseen was pressing down on his chest. Behind him, Vela stepped out into the light. Her fur shimmered under the red sky. Her wounds had closed, but her breathing was different, slower, deeper. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever before. Jace could feel the change in her. He looked around the village. The others were watching from the shadows, silent, waiting. What happens now? He asked. Vela didn't answer right away. She stepped close and placed her hand on his chest. Her claws didn't hurt him. They were soft, careful. Then she said, Tonight, we choose. Choose what? Jace whispered. She looked into his eyes. To stay. Or to break. He didn't understand, but his heart was racing. The way she looked at him, it wasn't just about survival. It was something deeper. Something primal. Vela took his hand and led him into a smaller shelter made of stone and woven branches. A fire was already burning inside. She sat down near it, motioned for him to sit. Jace sat quietly, watching her. Her breathing was heavier now. Her hands trembled slightly. You said you'll lose control, he said, if we don't bond. She nodded. What does that mean? She closed her eyes. I become beast. No thought, no heart, only hunt. He stared at her, realizing what that meant. You'll forget me. She opened her eyes again. Yes, and maybe kill. Jace swallowed hard. She was warning him, telling him the truth. This wasn't just about her needing help. It was about who she would become if he didn't stay. If I stay, he asked, what happens to you? Vela leaned forward. Her voice was soft, like a breeze through leaves. I stay, Vela. The room was quiet except for the fire. The world outside was loud, but inside, everything felt still. Jace looked at her glowing eyes. The way her hands reached for his, but never forced him. The way she trembled not from weakness, but from fear of being alone. He took her hand. You've saved me, protected me. You could have let me die, but you didn't. Her eyes filled with light. I stay, Jace said. Vela let out a Long breath, like she'd been holding it for hours. Her shoulders dropped. Her hands stopped shaking. Then she moved closer, pressing her head gently against his chest. Her fur was warm. Her voice was barely a whisper. Mine. Jace didn't argue. He didn't want to. Not anymore. He wrapped his arms around her and pulled her close. The fire cracked beside them. Outside, the blood moon rose higher. They stayed that way for a long time. Quiet. Together. But deep in the jungle, something else had awakened. The blood moon didn't just change her. It called others. Wild ones. Beasts. That had already lost their minds, and they were coming. Asterisk. The blood moon hung high in the sky, casting red light across the jungle. Jace held Vela close inside the shelter. Her head rested against his chest. Her breathing was calm now, but her ears twitched listening. He could feel something had changed, not just in her. In the world around them. Then the silence broke. Deep howl echoed through the trees. It wasn't Vela. Jace stood and looked outside. Shadows moved fast between the trees. Glowing eyes, claws, teeth. Vela stood behind him, her voice low and firm. Too late. What are they? Jace asked. She looked at him, pain in her eyes. Broken, wild, lost to blood moon. The beasts had once been like her, but now they were something else, and they were coming. The villagers had already gathered. The air was thick with fear. Some ran to their dens. Others grabbed spears and stood their ground. Vela stepped forward, her body tense. She turned to Jace and touched his face gently. You go. Hide. He shook his head. Not leaving you. She growled, but it wasn't angry. It was scared. I can't fight them alone, she whispered. Jace looked around. The creatures were getting closer, snarling, howling. Dozens of them. He picked up a long wooden spear. His body was still weak, but his hands were steady. Then we fight together. Vela stared at him for a long moment. Then she smiled, a soft, wild smile that showed both her teeth and her heart. She turned and let out a long, sharp howl. The villagers responded. A chorus of howls filled the jungle, and the battle began. The wild beasts charged from the trees, claws tearing into the ground. The villagers met them head-on. Spears clashed. Teeth snapped. Jace stayed close to Vela, fighting side by side. He struck one creature in the leg, then ducked as Vela leaped over him, slamming into another with full force. She was faster than he had ever seen her. The blood moon had given her strength, but the wild ones were stronger, crazed. Endless. One lunged at Jace from behind. Before it could land, Vela tackled it mid-air, slashing its throat with her claws. She saved him again, but she didn't get up. Vela. Jace dropped to his knees beside her. She was bleeding, a deep cut across her side. Her breathing was rough. Her eyes fluttered. No, Jace whispered. You can't. She looked at him weakly. Stay, I'm not leaving. He said, I promised. Around them, the battle slowed. The wild ones, confused and scattered, began to retreat. The villagers chased them back into the jungle. The danger had passed, but Vela was fading. No, stay with me, Jace said, holding her close. She smiled faintly. You are mine. He pressed his forehead to hers. You're mine too. You hear me? You're not going anywhere. Then, from the shadows, the old female stepped forward, Vela's elder. She knelt beside them and placed her hand on Vela's wound. She looked at Jace and said one word. Bond. He didn't understand, but he nodded. Tell me what to do, he begged. She placed his hand over Vela's chest. Heart. Together, Jace looked into Vela's eyes. I'm here. I'm with you, always. Then something strange happened. The red light of the blood moon seemed to wrap around them. His hand grew warm. Her body trembled. And suddenly, her eyes flashed. Bright, she gasped and breathed again. Her heartbeat grew steady. Her body healed slowly, but surely. The elder stepped back, her golden eyes calm. Now, you are one. Jace held Vela tighter. She was alive. He could feel it. And in that moment, he understood that the bond was real, not just emotion, something deeper, ancient, that he hadn't just saved her, she had saved him too. Weeks passed. The village began to rebuild. The jungle was quieter. Now Jace stayed no longer as a visitor. He helped gather food, fix shelters, train with the others, and every night, when the fire burned low, Vela curled beside him, her head against his chest, her tail wrapped around his legs. She never had to say it again. But sometimes, just before sleep, she whispered, softly, please stay. And he always answered the same way, I'm already home.